Okay, the time being 6:30, call a meeting to order for the Board of Selectmen for September 18th, 2019. The first item on our agenda is going to be a need for non-public.
There is a need for non-public under RSA 91A32.
Thank you. Consideration of minutes, September 4th. Anybody have any issues?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have next on the agenda is a temporary event permit. Hampshire Lakes Region Pickleball Club to host the 6th annual pickleball tournament at Foss Field, September 11th through the 13th, 2020, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Somebody here for that?
Not appear so.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the NH Lakes Region Pickleball Club to host the 6th annual pickleball tournament at Foss Field on September 11 to 13, 2020, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, what we're going to do next, we talked about, was we're going to go directly to the agency requests. So we can deal with that and get you people out of here. Not that we don't like you, we just thought it might be easier. Now, in our agenda packets, and I think on the agendas that you may have, they are listed 1 through 15, and we'll take them as they come on the list. First one on the list is B&H Hospice. Somebody here? Thank you. Just everybody please state your name for the record when you come up to speak. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Emberley from Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice is a nonprofit agency providing in-home health care to residents of Southern Carroll and Belknap counties. The agency has a long history of providing home health care in the Wolfeboro region, going back to our beginnings when our visiting nurses provided care to veterans returning from World War I. For the last 30 years, we have rented offices at Huggins Hospital. This year, we have purchased a new location in Wolfeboro at 645 South Main Street, the former home of the CPA firm, Leone McDonald and Roberts. Renovations are beginning any day now, and we hope to move in before the end of December. Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice is requesting level funding in the amount of $22,000 from the town of Wolfeboro to help support programs and services offered to Wolfeboro residents. These funds requested are to support the following 3 types of programs: provide hospice and palliative care services that are not reimbursed by third-party payers, such as adult and childhood bereavement services, volunteer training and placement, and spiritual counseling. Second, to provide support for pediatric care management and maternal children's health programs, which offer services to families with young children in this community who are considered to be socially or medically at risk. And thirdly, to provide support for general home care services to those who have inadequate or no insurance. Additionally, Central New Hampshire VA Hospice provides public presentations on related topics to home care. This past year, together with the Wolfeboro Library, we made presentations on the use of stress relief techniques and meditation. We are also active participants in local emergency preparedness and public health efforts. During our last fiscal year, the agency provided 6,813 visits to residents of the town of Wolfeboro, which is a 44% increase over the previous year. The amount of charity and uncompensated care totaled $81,000 $854. Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice appreciates the many years of support from the town of Wolfeboro and the opportunity to again make this request before this committee.
Thank you. Just so everybody knows, we make no decisions tonight. What we're doing is fielding information, as well as this information will go to the Budget Committee as well. So that will all be decided when the budgets are put together. So we're not going to do yes or no tonight, just so you understand.
Understood.
It will be taken into consideration, and at a later time, we'll make a decision. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
What? You got a question?
yeah, David? David, thank you for your commitment and continued commitment to the town. And I'm going to ask you the question, and it's kind of for the whole infield here. Last year, we asked the agencies to give us a snapshot view of your balance sheet, and we're not going to hold you up this year because we didn't put it in our little note to you. So make a mental note, everybody. We really do want to take a hard look at your balance sheets on a going forward basis. That helps us. And then the second thing is, I know you're requesting level funding. You know, we're all trying to, you know, do the best we can here this year. It is, you know, I know you've heard the word tight. It's a difficult year for all of us, and I personally, and I know everybody else, thanks you for what you're doing here. I appreciate it. So balance sheets, and thanks for what you're doing.
I have a copy of our audited financial statements. If that would help, I'll give that to you now.
If you want to maybe leave them with Amy, that would be great. We can get or would that be okay? Yeah.
I think that would be
awesome.
good. It'd be nice to have those.
Appreciate it.
Next on our list is Meals on Wheels.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Dempsey. I represent Meals on Wheels. The program, as you may know, serves 3 towns, Wolfeboro being the largest, Brookfield and Tuftonboro. We deliver meals every day, except, you know, when it's snowing, and do a wellness check. In the wintertime, we deliver blizzard bags if we can forecast that the weather will be incremental and the volunteer drivers are not able to get out and deliver a meal. We provide a blizzard bag the day before. Our funding request is the same as last year, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I just have one. I'm glad to see this year that you are in the black. I remember other years you have come and you've been in the red, and that's real nice to see.
Thank you, Linda.
Congrats.
Do you know how many years you've been doing this now?
Pardon me?
How many years have you been doing this in this area? Do you know?
The program?
Yes.
Since
I
the
know it's quite a-
1970s, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's been a lot of years. I wasn't sure how
Yeah.
many. Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, next on the list is Wolfeboro Area Child Center.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here today. I am Terry Ann Cox, the Executive Director at the Children's Center. As you know, we provide comprehensive child care and early education for children ages 6 weeks to 12 years of age. I am proud to say that this year we are celebrating our 45th anniversary. We first opened in 1974 for 30 children at the American Legion Hall, actually. Now you know we're right here on Main Street, and we are serving 175 children currently. Like many in this room and other agencies, we do believe each and every family deserves support in meeting the basic needs of food, clothing, shelter. Where we differentiate is we are about early education. We believe each child deserves that safe and nurturing environment, and we believe society is stronger when we're able to ensure families and their children succeed. So this year, we are also requesting a level funding request. And the reason that we are here, though, we continue to look for support and have been grateful for the town of Wolfeboro to support us because parent fees only cover 48% of all of our total program cost. To keep it affordable, to ensure our families are able to work, only 48% is covered. So we rely heavily on donations and grants, federal monies, state monies, and local monies as well to fill that gap. The Board of Directors will continue to look to fundraise, but like I said, we are looking for that same level as last year. We are projecting in 2019 to 2020, we would be looking to support Wolfeboro families as far as tuition assistance in the area of about $38,000 or $36,000. Last year, this was a little bit less. Those monies actually broken down supported 33 families and 46 children. I believe that you do have in front of you our mission statement, statement of our current year, planned income and expenditures, and as well, we've been a nonprofit since 1974. But if I can answer any questions at this time, I would love to do so.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
You're good? Thank you very much.
Next one is community action. Somebody here from that?
Dave, should we send out a letter to them and see if we can get them here for another meeting?
Get it at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, next on our agenda is Life Ministries.
Good evening. My name is Mike Turner. I'm the Vice President of Life Ministries Food Pantry. We're a 501c. It's a nonprofit organization, and we were established 34 years ago by 7 churches, local churches. We're currently governed by a board of directors and graciously operated and organized by 85 volunteers. Our mission is to supply the food to qualified people in need. We have an extensive vetting process to try to determine the financial qualifications of each of our clients. We also recheck this annually to be sure that our clients still qualify for our services. We provide 10 meals per week for each member of the family. Last year we distributed over 194,000 meals. Which was a 35% increase over 2017. Currently, in the first we project over the first 5 months of our fiscal year that we're going to hit a little over 195,000 again this year of meals served. How does this relate to Wolfeboro? The way we try to serve Wolfeboro is that 30% of our total clients are Wolfeboro residents. Currently, we distribute food to 532 Wolfeboro individuals, which is actually an 8% increase over last year's numbers. 182 of them are children, 120 are adults over 60 years old, and the remainder are between 19 and 59. Of these 532 individuals, they've come to the food pantry a total of 3,226 times. And so we've provided 32,260 meals year to date in 2019. And that represents 24% of the total meals that we've served in 2019. Our food budget for this current fiscal year is $174,000. But we're fortunate because we receive donations from individuals, donations from foundations. We have a number of fundraising events. We also lucky enough that we get reduced food cost of food from the Manchester Food Bank on a weekly basis. So this year we're really only going to ask for the same funding that we received last year, which is $15,000, which really only represents about 15% of our total food budget. So I'd like to thank, the town of Wolfeboro and the Selectmen for supporting us in the past years, and thank you for your consideration for this. So, Paul, you need a balance sheet again. Okay, we'll get it to you. Good, Danny. Okay. Questions?
Any question?
I just will make a comment while everybody is still here. The town of Wolfeboro is very blessed with all the volunteers that we have, and the food pantry is an example, as with all of you, and thank you for your time to Wolfeboro.
Yeah, we visit a lot of the food pantries in the area and the state, and we are very fortunate.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on our agenda is Starting Point.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Deborah Weinstein. I'm the Executive Director of Starting Point. Starting Point, as you know, serves victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. We provide a 24-hour crisis and support line, community services at Huggins, which is here now, and we're pretty much staffed at least 5 days a week with at least one staff member, if not two. We respond to Ossipee Court with restraining orders, parenting plans, advocacy, and any help that they need. We are very much involved in the lethal assessment profile, which is called LAP from the police. So we work with the local police departments when they feel that there's lethality in the situations. They call us and we have an assessment that we do and work with the police to make sure that that person is safe. We have 24/7 I'm sorry, I apologize. With the 24/7 is the lethal assessment. So just so you know that we provide on-call services 24/7. So not only do we have advocates who might be volunteers who are very generous with us, but then there are usually two staff members. There are always two staff members that back up those volunteers, including hospital advocacy. When the hospital calls us and there has been a victim of rape, we will physically go down there at any hour of the night to respond. We are asking for an increase this year. The increase, we're asking for $4,227, and the increase is for $538. We're asking for an increase in all of our towns, and it's based on, as you see, the base on page 2 of the submission, and also the percentage of individuals that we served. In last year, we served 45 individuals. That's up from 33 in the previous year. 9.7% of the individuals served in the county. That's up from 8.42% the previous year. The number of services almost, well, it actually doubled, more than doubled. We provided 530 services to residents of the town of Wolfeboro, and that's up from 214 in the previous year. An average of 10.81% services in our county, that's 12 individuals is the average for services percentage. So we hope that you'll consider it. We know that we're asking a lot. We know that this is a tough year. It's a tough year for all of us, and we really do need this increase as we are trying to provide a greater presence in South County. I also want to mention that we provide prevention programs in the schools and are starting a girls group. I believe it's going to be at Kingswood, but we're working on that right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Next on our agenda is Kingswood Youth Center.
Good evening. I'm Zachary Porter. I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Kingswood Youth Center. We're here in Wolfeboro providing out-of-school programs for students in grades 7 through 12 in each of the 7 towns that make up the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. This year, our request is for level funding in the amount of $5,000. A few updates about our agency. It's an exciting year for us. Next month, we'll celebrate our 10-year anniversary of our building on Center Street. We opened that building in October 2009, so we'll be inviting stakeholders, community members in to celebrate with us next month on October 16th. Then later on in the year, we say the year because it's the school year, but May 2020, we celebrate our 20th anniversary as an organization. We established in May of 1999. So what we do with our students, we have a couple of legs of service, a couple types of programs. We do our after-school program. That's our longest standing program. It is Monday through Thursday afternoon, open to all high school and middle school students in the district. We do a multitude of things. We balance structured programming that participants are asked, requested, required to participate with the opportunity to engage with peers and in a supervised and safe fashion enjoy less structured free time, independent choices, enrichment, recreation. We do a lot with life skills. We do a lot with substance misuse prevention. In addition to that, we do our Beyond the After School programs. We call it BTAS, BTAS, Beyond the After School. So that's going on weekends sometimes, every school vacation, and then we keep our students late, those who want to stay late with us, 1 day a week. We stay till 7, we give them dinner, and we have a structured program. So we've climbed mountains, we've done a science cafe, we've done trivia nights, all kinds of things, community service. The final, or a couple more things, we do a summer program, so we just wrapped that up. Each week we did a full day of services. So every Wednesday we had students out for a full day. We got out into the community. We also ventured out into different parts of the state, collaborated with another youth center, collaborated with other agencies. That was going on all summer. The last thing, and I'll try to be brief, the last thing I'll tell you about is at the beginning of this year, January 2019, we launched a pilot program in the middle school, Kingswood Regional Middle School. We call it Club 121. That's 121. It is a one-to-one mentoring program. It is adult mentors working with middle school mentees on an individual basis during the school day once a week, and we're working on goal setting, high school readiness, talking about our futures. We do that through a series of structured activities, really delving into emergent interests, relationships, definitely, again, high school readiness, and thinking beyond high school. So we served 29% of the 274 students we served last school year were from the town of Wolfeboro. We also received funding from the town of Ossipee, town of Tuftonboro, and the town of New Durham. I'm happy to address any questions, and per your recommendation, we would love to address the Budget Committee.
I just want to say that over these 20 years, you've grown tremendously. From the little, you used the church on Main Street, to getting you to have summer programs, vacation programs, and now to launch this in the middle school. That's fantastic. It's a real support to this community and the youth of our community, and thank you.
Thanks so much for saying that, and that's what we'll celebrate next month. Our success, the generosity of our community that made that success possible, our growth, and then our future. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. For a second there, I thought Linda was talking about you personally. I was going to say, that's an HR violation of something. Do you connect with seniors in any way? Is your program and seniors get connected?
I'm sorry, do you mean seniors in our population or seniors in high school?
No, seniors in our
Thanks.
population, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. So our volunteer base, we of course draw upon a lot of that population, which is wonderful. And then we're definitely working to be visible in the community, have a lot of community interaction. So we've been out. I guess in general community events like First Night and the Trick or Treat, we're seeing all kinds of people and families. As far as individually supporting programs for seniors, we've done some things for Sugar Hill. We painted some birdhouses. In projects like that, we would like to do. We'd like to do more.
I'm hunting on an unformed theory, and that is that your generation of students is a heck of a lot tech smarter than my generation of students. And I want to bridge that gap because I'm trying to get people excited about using technology at all ages, all groups. And it's an unformed theory, but I just want you to ponder that. If you want to get back to me and we can chat about it, I'd like to talk to you more about what I'm thinking about.
Most certainly.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I look forward to
that. I'm
that.
not talking about video games. You know, I don't want to do Legion of Doom, but basic things about Internet of Things. How you can stream, those kinds of things. Is I think for at least for some of our cohort in this town and in adjoining towns, if you use those words, they kind of look at you and they don't know what you're talking about. Where in fact they could actually take advantage of some of these things. So I want to kind of see if we can leverage your crew to help other people get smarter.
Absolutely, and that's the language of our population,
Exactly.
and it's second nature because they grew up
Exactly.
with it, needless to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, next on our list is Northern Human Services.
Sounds like they'll be joining us on October 9th.
Okay. Senior meals.
Good evening. I'm Amy Capone Muccio. I am the town's welfare director and president of the Wolfeboro Senior Center and Meals. We are requesting level funding, and as you can see from our budget submittal, we run on a very tight, small budget, which is primarily funded by the town of Wolfeboro. The other funding we receive is a small funding from the town of Tuftonboro for their percentage of guests that attend our meals, and the daily meal donations. And throughout the year, we do get some donations here and there from the general public. We are housed at All Saints Church. The organization did start there as kind of a crock pot club, and they became a nonprofit in 2010. And part of the reason we need to be at All Saints Church is they have a commercial kitchen, a very nice kitchen, and we're very happy to have that location. They don't charge us any rent for that, but it's a hefty gift and a costly program. So last year we had a few struggles. We don't have a coordinator. We've tried to hire one a couple of times, but it's just not working out. We had one that came, and then of course a full-time job came on and we lost that person. So we're going to struggle along this winter without one and just keep our cook and run the program as what it's originally started as, and that was meals and people to sit down and enjoy a meal together.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Next is Caregivers, Southern Carroll County.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Betty Coffey, and I'm a volunteer with Caregivers of Southern Carroll County. Caregivers has been around since 1987. We're an organization which provides transportation to medical appointments for local and out-of-town trips at no cost to clients. Our organization has no paid staff at all. We have volunteer coordinators and volunteer drivers, and 90% of our budget goes to driver reimbursement. We provide mileage reimbursement for 45 cents a mile for trips over 50 miles. So for Wolfeboro clients year-to-date, as of 8/31, we have reimbursed drivers $6,735, and we project by year's end we will reimburse approximately $10,000 to Wolfeboro drivers. And last year, our mileage reimbursement for Wolfeboro was $9,273. So the need is increasing for this transportation. Our request for the town of Wolfeboro is $44,500, which is a $500 increase. And that is for us to continue to provide the need for services. We leverage our funding to continue our mission from the other towns we serve, which is Alton, Ossipee, and Tuftonboro. And then we do get donations from local churches, service organizations, and private citizens. So I am happy to answer any questions you have.
Do you have any?
I don't.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next is dinner bell.
Good evening. My name is Donna Young, and I'm a representative from the Dinner Bell program. We want to thank you for supporting this program since it started in 2008, and we heavily rely on this funding in order to provide this weekly meal every Thursday, promptly at 5 p.m. in the All Saints Parish Hall. It is a great time of wonderful food as well as conversation, and each year we still are seeing increases in what our attendance shows. I am always blown away when I tally this up at the end of the year and saw that we had served the 1,918 meals. It goes along smoothly, but when you see the big numbers, it's really overwhelming. So again, thank you for your funding, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I just would want to point out again the generosity of All Saints Church, who is doing your treasurer for this event.
Did you end up getting the sheet from the treasurer?
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
So
thank
that's
you.
what I'm saying is that, you know, our senior citizens are there and they help with this, and that's, All Saints does a lot. Food pantries down there, so we're very lucky to have All Saints.
No
Okay,
questions?
thank you.
Thank you.
Next is CASA.
Hi, my name is Julia LaFleur. I'm from Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA of New Hampshire. We are a statewide organization. We're in our 30th year this year. We serve children who are victims of abuse and neglect. We have volunteers throughout the state that speak for those children within our family courts. Last fiscal year, we had 618 volunteers throughout the state that served 1,533 children. Since 1989, we've served over 10,000 children in New Hampshire. We're looking for level funding again this year from the town of Wolfeboro. Because we run completely on volunteers, we estimate that we saved the state about $5.3 million in advocacy services last year, which otherwise would have been paid for guardian ad litems at $60 per hour plus travel costs. So our volunteers run completely in their own miles. They use their own cars. They contribute, let's see, last year over almost 90,000 hours of volunteer time. So we're heavily dependent on them. We're heavily dependent on funding from the state, from supporters, individuals, as well as corporations and municipalities and towns. So, any questions for me?
Any question? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Carroll County Transit.
Hello, I'm Brenda Gagne. I'm the Director of Transportation for Tri-County CAP. This year we are asking Wolfeboro for level funding in the amount of $4,000. Last year we provided over 1,400 trips for 88 unduplicated residents of Wolfeboro. We have started a new coordinated service with several existing providers in the town, one being at Huggins Hospital, the adult daycare center there. We have quite a few residents we're transporting daily now, as well as the adult learning center that is located in Tamworth. We are now working with them to pick up Wolfeboro residents going up to the adult learning center to forward their education and get their GED. We continue to provide service for the general public, the elderly, the disabled, low income, anybody in need. We have been providing some service for White Horse residents, also to get up towards the northern part of Ossipee and Tamworth. Our transportation system is continuing to grow. We are currently in the process of working with New Hampshire DOT on bus replacements. We just got one replaced. We're looking to get another one. Obviously, these buses take quite a beating on some of these roads. So we're hoping by next spring you'll be seeing a couple of new buses running around town. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any?
No?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
End 68 hours of hunger.
Hello, I'm Susan Weeks, volunteer within 68 Hours of Hunger. We're about to begin our 6th year locally with our local chapter. We have a budget this year of approximately $67,000. We get, for this year, we get $3,000 from Wolfeboro, $3,000 from Ossipee, and $2,000 from Tuftonboro. The rest of our funding is donations, primarily from private citizens. We have a number of fundraisers that we do ourselves, and so it's a constant struggle. Our average students that we served meals to this past year, and we don't know next year, we don't know right now yet because they don't, the numbers keep changing, but we did 130 kids on average last year, providing meals for the weekends for them from Wolfeboro Children's Center, Ossipee Head Start, and all the elementary schools in Wolfeboro, Tuftonboro, Ossipee, and Middleton. So we would love to get at least 3,000 again this year. More would be wonderful. The cost of the food has risen from an average of $10 a bag to $12 a bag. So the numbers of students are going up and the cost of the food is going up.
Do you have any questions?
I do. I just don't see a budget connected with this application. Last year, you gave us a budget. You told us how much you had raised, what your expenses were, and what money you had in your account, which gave us some information. So if you could do that, that would be nice, because then it would fall in line with all the other applicants. It's a great organization. It helps a lot of families and children, but it would be really nice to have that. As we're going to have to vote on this, and then we have to pass it on to the budget committee. So it would be nice to have that budget to include in our packets.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that we have spent more than we've taken in this year, and we've been living off what we had left from prior years. So it's a struggle. I'll try to get more information. Is that October 9th?
Yeah, I can show you what I had that you provided us last year. I just have to go to my winter house and pull out my budget book. But you gave us one last year. If you gave us the same thing that you gave us last year, I'd be fine.
Okay. All right. And we'll get a notice on when we should go to budget meetings?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Children Unlimited. Nobody here for that. Okay, that takes care of all the services. Thank you for your time and your services. And I'm sure you'll get notices as far as the budget committee. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the bulk vote. Bulk vote is our weekly manifest, intent to cut property tax credit or exemption, property tax abatement refunds.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to remove abatement number 31, tax map 260, lot 10, for us to vote on separately.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'll second that, too.
Okay, now let's take the bulk vote except for that one.
Move to accept the bulk vote with the exception of item D, the item 31, 28, tax map 260, lot 10.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Second.
Brad.
Sure.
Brad, second.
Okay, do we want to take that one up separately?
Yes, we do, and I have a motion here.
Okay.
I move that the board deny the Myers application for abatement of the September 24th, 2018 betterment assessment on the grounds that Lot 10 is benefited by the layout of Stonehenge Road as a public way, and that the assessing each of these 10 lot owners equally is fair and reasonable assessment against all lots within the subdivision. The reasons set forth in the Myers letter to the Board of Selectmen dated October 25th, 2018 are insufficient to support an abatement.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to point out that council had recommended that before that motion is made, that the board discuss each of the primary topics outlined in Mr. Mears' letter. He had recommended that you walk through those 4 items that were included in his letter, his 2-page letter dated earlier in the week. I would just recommend that you review those 4 items, and I'm happy to walk through what those are before you vote on the motion, if you're comfortable with that.
Why don't you do that?
Go for it, Matt.
You volunteered.
I did volunteer. Let me just pull my copy up, and I'm happy to walk through it. And if you'd like to also pull up Mr. Mears' letter as reference if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. 4 primary points, starting with point 1. One moment. First primary point is that the owner has pointed out that some of the lots are improved within the development and some are not as a basis for the abatement request. Obviously, one of the considerations I think that should be made by the board there before deciding whether that's a criteria that they'd like to include within the denial is typically these betterments are based on the highest and best use of the lots, and therefore it's not whether the lot is developed or not, it's simply whether the lot is a building lot within that subdivision. That's the first point of contention that Mr. Mears has pointed out within his letter. The second point is the year-round versus seasonal differentiation. Again, the basis of the betterment assessment is not based on the seasonality or lack thereof of the lot, and is not really based on the actual use at the present time, is instead based on the development potential of the lot. And therefore, I think that's important to consider. There is an argument that the access to Lot 10, which is the lot addressed within the abatement, is accessed via Oakwood Road. However, I think as council's comments do point out, that is not I do not believe that is a legitimate request, as the contemplation in the betterment assessment is that access is possible off of Stonehenge Road, not simply that it is presently accessed that way. And lastly, point 4 is very specific in that not all Stonehenge Road owners signed a petition to lay out, and I think it's important to refer to the points of council as provided to the board, that the consent by all owners is not required on the petition itself. The appropriate process for the betterment was followed by the Board of Selectmen, and therefore that may be important to consider in your denial motion as well.
And I also saw that the owner of Lot 10 also did not disclaim his right to use Stonehenge Road as access and separate from the Oakwood Road property.
Correct.
That's the other one.
If you find that these 4 specific points are not legitimate reasons to grant the abatement, I would then recommend voting on your motion as proposed.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Everybody ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So next, seeing as how we've gone all over here, MS1 2019 Summary Inventory Valuation. I think we have that. Is there anything we need to do with that except to accept it?
I don't believe there's any additional action necessary.
Okay.
Those were all part of the bulk vote.
Yeah, Dave, I believe that was part of...
Part of the bulk vote, wasn't it?
Correct, yes, yep.
Yeah, okay. I was just looking, I said, I think that's part of the bulk vote. Okay. We've already done that. We have no board appointments. Any new business?
We just note on item A, the expenditure and revenue report. Mr. Neff was unable to attend the meeting this evening to present the finance report. I'd be happy to take any questions that the board might have or comments back to Mr. Neff and ensure that they're answered in a timely manner for your review. But I do again apologize that he was unable to attend the meeting this evening.
I have one. I have two, in fact. One of the things that I have seen throughout this budget, a lot of the heating oil lines are over significantly, and we are to go into heating again. And I think that we should have some kind of idea from the department heads how they're going to make adjustments in their budgets for that. The other thing that we do not have is the comparison of the revenues to the revenues that we had estimated for 2019, and I find it hard without having some of that to get a real handle on where we are.
Paul?
I agree with Linda. We have no idea where the airplane's flying right now. But we need to know the revenue numbers. And the energy, we are running hot, and not to be picky, but what the heck. This is a focus area for our town. Not only do we need to understand how the department heads are going to deal with this, I don't know why this stuff is going up. If it's a volume issue, that's one thing, but if it ain't, and it can't be the price of gasoline's going up, so let's not go there. I would like to. The third thing that I would like to know is I'd like to know the date that we are going to get the audit. I don't know how hard I understand we're working hard. I want to know the date it's going to show up. Okay. Because I think that's important, because that will inform us, our budget committee, and all interested parties on what we're working with.
Okay.
So we'll get a look at this next time?
I would recommend that a further discussion take place at the next meeting, and I will work on getting the answers to those three comments for you as soon as possible, potentially before that meeting, so you have it as informational.
And this is give us August. I would think by the next meeting we should have September.
An update.
We should have the next month.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'd like the next month.
September included, yes.
Yeah. It'll give us another sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions in reference to expenditures and revenues? Okay, move on to pop boiling rates. Somebody here for that?
Who's here for that?
I was seeing if anybody else wanted to step up, but no.
Anybody else wants opening?
Christine was looking for volunteers.
Okay, just me. Christine Collins, Recreation Director. I'm here today to talk about pop whalen rates. This is highly unusual that we would be talking about rates in September when people will start utilizing ice in October. I have sat down with the town manager and the finance director. Unfortunately, in the transition of changing finance directors and town managers, we did not get to do the much needed research to figure out our game plan for the future of pop whalen. At this point, we put a proposal together to raise the rates 3% for this year. And when I say this year, it's a little interesting because my pop whalen is October through March. So it's actually two different years we're talking about. So we propose to do 3% for this season, I guess we would say. And then next season, which would be 20, for 20, another 3%. And then in the 2020 year, by summertime, we would put a proposal together to kind of get Pop Whalen in a January to December rate structure. So we're not going October through March. We'll decide in 2020 what 2021 looks like on. So it will be January to December we're doing rates. Because I think right now there's a little, not a mix-up, but it's hard to see the full year when you're talking about one piece of one year and one piece of another. Are there any?
Just for clarification on that, so the request this evening is to include a 3% rate increase essentially from October of 2019 through March of 2020, subsequently applying a 3% increase from October of 2020 to December of 2020, just a 3-month period, then setting a 2021 rate from January 1, 2021 out to December 31 of 2021.
Yes.
You know, I don't have any problem with that, and I will absolutely support the 3% for this year. Where I find it very hard to figure out what to do here is, and it's back to what Mr. O'Brien said, is we have no audit. So I don't know where 2018 ended up. We know we were really in the hole in 2017. Yep. So raising the rates make all the sense in the world. I would like to see if we could get a better handle on this budget and the revenue and start getting it in the black. I went back and looked at some of my audit reports. In 2016, it made money.
Yes.
And then 2017 had a real bad year.
Right.
And one of the things that seems to be going on based on our revenue reports, and that was part of the reason I wanted an update on it, that we seem to be estimating more revenue than we take in. And we need to get that more accurate.
Yes.
That seems to be the big problem coming through here.
So I think a lot of it was we were doing all those projections, but we never went back to see what was actual. And so on the spreadsheet I did, I actually went in, and when it says, I can tell you up until March 2020, everything in there is what's actually in the system that has been booked through users. Could that change slightly? Yes, if there's a snow date or something like that, but they have booked their ice time. And I think we were overestimating a little bit before, and I don't know if we were counting different things, because when I took over the spreadsheet, I was like, this doesn't seem to match what we're actually doing. So I think that's good to go back and actually see, like, okay, this is what we projected, and this is actually what happened. I think the other piece of that is just when I did the ICE user time, I was kind of basing it on 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. And when I talked to the town manager, he was like, what are your hours? Our hours are based on users. So we don't really have set hours. If you tell me you want to rent ICE, then we back everything up to try to fill the spots, and that's how we manage it. But then when I did the, I realized historically it's been like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So I then went through and based it on that so we could see what we're doing. I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction on using ice time. I think part of the issue is everybody wants the same ice time. Anytime after school until time for bed, that's when they want the ice, Monday through Friday, and then everyone wants weekend ice. So we are, I got in the habit of sitting down with all the ice rental users. We have a conversation, and they all know it's a give or take, so we can kind of make it work for everyone. If you give 10 minutes here or 10 minutes there, we're able to accommodate everyone after school and get everything in.
So they have, for the 2019 fall season, that nobody's paid anything? They're waiting for these rates to come out?
Yes, and typically what we do is they pay after they use it. So from October through December, they use it, and then I invoice them January 1st. So we have the correct thing, because times will change, they'll increase, decrease. That's historically how we've done it.
Have you had, I know at one point we had some people that weren't paying. Have you been having good response to your bills?
Yes, so that is not typically for ice time. People typically pay for ice time. That's for other programming, but we've been more on top of that, working with payment plans, and we've tried to get into the habit of not signing up for things prior to payment, because that's in life, that's what you have to do. We do work with people with payment plans, and we just make sure they're paid up by the time the program starts. So we have eliminated a lot of that.
Your turn. Down the other end.
No other questions?
Go ahead,
Okay.
Paul. We've got a
No.
The other end.
Oh, here he comes. So with the deepest amount of respect, I stand in, as Mr. Bowers would say, in loyal opposition to Ms. Murray's suggestion for approval. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, and maybe I'll see it differently. So if I look over your utilization time, for the past 5 years, on average, trust me, I just added up the numbers, divided by 5, all right, and then subtracted from 100. On average, 47% of available ice time goes unused.
Yes. And that would be typically during the work day, Monday through Friday.
Whatever the number is, I'm just trying to lock and load in my head. So you have an available amount of ice time. 47% of the time that ice is available, there's nobody skating on it. Okay, that's okay. Number two, do I understand this correctly? And Matt tried to help me, and I'm still a little hosed up on this. The town. And I don't know what the right words are, but we put $100,000 in the kitty each year. The taxpayers, the voters, we appropriate $100,000 for Pop Whalen each year. You count that as revenue.
Yes. So what we're doing is, because it's an enterprise fund, I am selling the town $100,000 worth of ice for programming for the single users, not people who are renting ice.
You turn around, and once you get that $100,000, you turn around and you sell the ice, and you generate about $30,500 in revenue.
Correct.
So the other $69,000 and change, you're using, in your budget. You're using to pay bills. Because you're getting the revenue, you're not generating a surplus. You're using it to pay your bills.
Right.
I'm just trying to square the circle here.
But bills for Pop Whalen.
For Pop Whalen, yeah, paying the Pop Whalen.
Okay, let's make sure that they're not going other places.
No, they're not going. You're not.
No,
you're not paying Chief Rondo,
Nope.
are you? Okay, good. So they're just for Pop Whalen.
Correct.
Okay. So here's how I do the math.
Okay.
$282,000 is the total revenue that you are showing for the 2018-2019 budget. That's your number. And you show $282,000 roughly in costs, which says that you'll lose $39. However, if I pull out that $100,000, okay, that you got from the town, we kind of we put money in the kitty for you, which is okay. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. If we took that out, then I would say the real revenue, the revenue that people actually reach in their wallet and give you money for, is $182,000. 282 minus 100, 182 grand. That says, if I do it that way, that says that you're effectively showing a $100,000 deficit. And the consequence of that says that for every dollar of revenue you bring in, you show a deficit, you lose 55 cents. And I'm not saying lose, it's a shortfall of 55 cents.
Right.
Okay? So park that off on the side. We have had, and you've been sponsoring this, so people out there know this, we're starting to see people coming in and saying, hey, we need to bone up, fix Pop Whalen because it can't grow without some fitting. And I think the number that's coming in for capital is $1 million, $1.5 million?
Potentially more.
Yeah.
Depending on the scope of the project.
It could be 3, whatever the number is. I have no idea.
It could be substantially more.
I'm sorry for doing this because
fixed costs
I'm trying to process. If it's $3 million, $2 million, whatever the number is, it's going to be north of $1.5 million. That burden of paying the bill is going to you. Okay. So asking for 3%, I think is right now is kind of like it doesn't make sense to me. The question I have is I don't want Pop Whalen to go away. I think it's a community asset. We've got to deal with this thing. But I think asking for another 34 grand, which is really what 3% buys you, I think is not. Well, I can't support that. I think we got to put this whole puppy on the table and we have to ask ourselves some basic questions. What kind of investments do we need? What does that generate in terms of an obligation on Pop Whalen? What kind of operating expense should we have? How much do we have to ask the voters to pony up? What should the fees be to the users? And I think if I were a voter, I would expect somebody to tell me that. How much is it going to cost to fix it? How much is it going to cost to operate it? How much do you want me to give, at the ballot box? So I would say no on the increase. I would say we got to work hard, and I know you're not working hard enough, right? You're working hard as hell, but we got to work hard together to figure out how to make that whole rubric come together. Otherwise, I can't explain it to a voter, and so I can't support it.
I agree. The reason why we only went up 3% is because we realized there's something we need to figure out. And so we could just stay steady and not have a rate increase, but I think we would lose a little bit more money, and that's why we were trying to give some kind of a rate increase. We also don't want to impact the users too much because we're talking about users who have already planned their budget. Because I usually have my rates done ahead of time, I did come to the selectmen before and we had a conversation. I was supposed to get together with the finance director, like I've already explained. I did tell the users that there would be a slight increase, up to 6% possibly. Not knowing what it would be, but they did have a heads up there that would be some sort of increase so they could plan for it because they needed it for planning purposes. So that's why we came to this agreement.
No, I got it. So
just so you're aware.
effectively your deficit, would go from, 100, forget about the capital implications. Your deficit would go down by $24,000. In the scheme of things, and I probably don't have the right to say this, but I'd say on that, and let's go sit down and figure out what we need to do to make this thing work correctly. That's kind of where I come out on.
I'll come in on here and we'll talk about the town's money towards the Pop Whalen. And we used to have a lot of free time for the public to come in and skate. And that was my understanding of what we were paying for. We were paying to have that ice available. They did laps in the morning, they did laps at noon.
So just let me understand this. When you say free time, like they would come and skate for free, they did not pay the facility?
That we were paying, they would pay, what, $3 to skate?
Yes, so we still have that. We have lap skating. So
that $100,000 is paying to leave that time open for those skaters. Different from, so we are renting it. We're renting it to ourselves. In order to allow the public. We no longer have an outside rink. We used to have up there an outside rink. And now we buy the time from this enterprise fund in order to have times that the public can skate. To me, what we're looking at is what do we do here right now to get some more revenue into this enterprise fund to stop the deficit, and 30,000 would help. Where you are going with this capital project is not on the table tonight. I agree with you. We have a lot of work to find out how we would support that kind of upgrade to the facility. We have the Friends of Pop Whalen. How much are they capable to fundraise? That I see as a different question than whether we're going to raise the rates now for this skating season to stop the bleed, and I support that.
Can I ask another question? Is the ice time that is free, free ice time, and our citizens get they pay $5, somebody else pays $6, right? Is
so
that
it's
how it works?
resident versus non-resident.
Right. So if you're a resident, you get to pay $5. And is that ice time from a utilization point of view? Is it heavily utilized? Is that ice? So two questions: is that ice time heavily utilized, or is that ice time that other organizations would really like to have?
I would say the first part of that question is during the week, it's not as utilized unless it's like a day off from school or it's a vacation. A lot of homeschoolers use the ice, so we have that during the day. And under the, like smaller children or older adults will use that ice. On the weekends, it is quite busy. We do try to make Saturday and Sunday ice time. We did get away from publishing the exact time it happens because ultimately it's a business. I'm trying to sell ice to rent the facility. So what I do is I sell the ice, try to work in all those games and, you know, stuff like that. And then if a game gets canceled, it might impact ice time. So we have a online up-to-date calendar that you can go online and it's real time. You can check whenever we're available to the public so no one's driving out and then they're like, oh my gosh, it's not today because we rescheduled a game. So we try to be considerate of people and try to work so we can try to get everyone their ice time.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for putting this together, Christine. I just want to say, I think I agree with Linda on this. I think we need to start somewhere to start, you know, slow the bleeding down, I guess, for lack of a better term. And if we wait and we do a complete study and we determine that we're going to need a 10 or 15% increase,
that's going to be rough.
You're going to hit these schools, you know, I was just doing a quick addition here on your total rented time between, you know, Back Bay, Brewster, and Kingswood. Accounts for 700 out of the 840 or so hours that you have rented out there and stuff. So, and just in those three groups there. If you hit them with a huge increase all at once, it could cripple them, or they could say, no, we're going to go somewhere else or whatever. There, we'd end up losing or having more vacant time to try and fill.
I think the problem is to go somewhere else. I think other ranks are charging more than we are because I've done a rate study, so that probably isn't the issue. But they do have to plan for it so they can charge appropriately, and I think that's really what the issue is. This, if they don't have any notice, there's no way for them to prepare for that, so they'd have to cut their ice time, which would then impact us even more. So that's why we said if we do have that year to like sit down and truly talk about the plan so we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think we need to, you know, do some now and just kind of increment this in over a period of time to get up to where we need to be rather than try and do a whole study and then just hit it all at once.
And I would personally like to see a goal so we could, you know, kind of have some projectability to say, we could tell you what the rates are going to be. We should be doing it a year ahead of time so they can be planning too, you know, like not so close to like right now. Or even the summer of, it's still pretty close.
I stand where I am, and I appreciate Mr. Harriman's point. You want to fix the problem? It's really simple. Don't raise rates. Just tell the town to pick up the tab. Add another $34,000 to our budget. Fix it that way. I'm not suggesting a big, long study. I think that's code for study it to death, and I'm not suggesting you say that. I'm saying we need to have clarity quickly about what we're going to do with this thing, because if it's going to be 10%, it's pay me now or pay me later.
Right.
It's going to happen. And so, you know, I'm just worried that I just want to get it fixed. And I'm going to have this, and I agree with Linda that this isn't a capital conversation, but when the capital comes on the table, I'm going to say that now we're going to put another burden on you, and what are you going to do with prices there? So I'm in the mode of clarity.
Would the board be more comfortable with a motion to approve the rate only from October 1 to March 31 for the 3% increase only? At that time, we'd have to come back with a new proposal. After that 6-month period. I think the goal for the Parks and Recreation Department is to provide a solid rate for this season.
I don't know, Christine, you'd have to tell us. I mean, doesn't that send kind of a confusing message to the people who are going to buy ice time? I mean, it's only a temporary thing. It could go up, could go down.
No, but it would follow the season. It would be the October to March.
Right. We're saying it would complete this whole season, and we won't make a decision for the October through December for 2020.
I think we start running into them. We are back to these. People we can't really find out what we need.
Right. Or you could keep that 3%.
We were looking at 6, so if you do 3 through March and then another 3 starting into the fall, and then the next year have a whole nother thing, it gives us some time to kind of get an understanding of what the improvements need, what the costs are going to be, and then have an opportunity to look at how we may want to even increase the rates more in 2021.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to increase the rates as proposed, 3% this year, 3% for the 3 months the next year, And by then, we should have a rate schedule.
Yeah, the
on
plan is for
line.
the summer of 2020 to be before you again.
Yep.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? We've had quite a bit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Okay. Board of Selectmen budget schedule. Who's going to bring the good food? Okay, October 2nd is a regular meeting. We start our budgets October 9th. I'm assuming we're going to have budget books and everything by then. Only assuming.
I sure hope we have something.
Well, we can always come and eat.
Well, we can. That's right, Dave.
So, who wants to be the first night?
I'll volunteer.
What?
Making dinners. Dinners.
Okay,
Yes.
October 10th.
I'll do the 10th.
Am I in for the first one?
What happened to the 9th?
Dave Bowers.
Dave Bowers. Pay attention, will you?
Well, I was clarifying for Michelle. I mean, Michelle was asking a question.
Who's Linda was the second one?
I'm the 10th.
16th.
I'll do it.
That's a regular board meeting.
That's a regular board.
Okay.
I'm
meeting.
not doing that.
What?
I'll do the next one.
You volunteered.
21st.
21st?
I'll do that.
Who?
Was it 21st?
O'Brien.
Oh,
23rd.
I'll do the 23rd.
Brad.
Peanut butter and jelly.
PB&J.
24th. I guess I'm the only one
I'm
left.
the only one left.
And the 28th, the town manager gets.
That one to Jim, huh?
Yeah, it's Jim, right? And we'll have to flip a coin if necessary.
Yeah,
Well,
leftovers.
if necessary, it'll be that guy in the end.
Well, he doesn't come to our meetings.
Doesn't matter, he's the fill-in.
We can invite him.
Michelle
Oh.
volunteered.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. No.
Okay.
I don't want to be roped into
Michelle,
that.
Michelle will do the 30th if necessary.
I got the microwave downstairs.
Pasta with the PD.
To butternut.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so we got that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, now, we have any other business? Most important things done. Okay, committee reports. Mr. O'Brien?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one item other business. I think the chief wanted to speak to one matter. I apologize. I fell asleep there for a moment.
Too late.
Too late, done. Sorry.
To entertain an other business request. I apologize.
Sure. Go ahead.
One moment I look at my
Talk too long.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Chief Rondo, Chief of Police for Wolfeboro. We received, may I approach, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
We received a grant recently from New Hampshire Highway Safety. This is similar to all the highway safety grants that we do. You notice the date they want to begin on that is on or about 1 October 2019. So this is for the, remember these grants follow the federal government fiscal year, which begins, the FY 2020 fiscal year begins 1 October 2019. There are some mandatory patrols in there they want us to pull. So there was a process to that. I do apologize. We just recently received it. I know it's coming to you late. It's for $3,520. The amount is on the grant. Does need to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. No public, not to my understanding, no public hearing is required because it's not over $10,000. But the town manager or his designated representative needs to sign it, and I need to get it down to Concord. I was hoping that you could approve that tonight. I was hoping that you could approve it tonight. Pretty pleased with Sherwin Top.
Would you tell us so the public would know how much it's for?
Yes, it's for the amount of money is for $3,520. The amount is on the grant, and what it's for is essentially motor vehicle traffic enforcement, things like safe commute, ticket or click it for ensuring that children under the age of 18 are buckled up and seatbelted in, or car seated, so forth and so on. It's enforcement stuff. These are patrols that are paid for by the federal government, no cost to the town of Wolfeboro or to the taxpayers, but it puts extra officers, my officers, on the road doing motor vehicle enforcement. Ultimately, it benefits the town. It keeps us safe, and allows me to address, some core tasks: crime prevention and safe and secure environment. Right, those are some of the core tasks that we do, and this grant speaks right to that.
Would you like a
Anybody have any
motion?
question?
I was just asking you if you wanted a motion. Oh, wait.
I was asking for a motion. Somebody would like to make one?
No.
Authorize the town manager to sign?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the acting town manager sign the grant for $3,520 for the police department.
Second.
That goes, I guess.
Hey, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
That was a tough one.
That was.
Okay, I'll go back to Mr. O'Brien for committee reports.
Different page, you go to initial and sign. The captain will come over and help you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Budget Committee, CIP Committee, Master Plan Committee last night. One thing came up at Master Plan. There was a question about lighting, street lights, the temperature, color. I've sent a note over to the person who asked the question to get more clarity, and then I'll get it to the board because it looks like it falls on us. Today I attended the Carroll County Broadband Committee meeting. This is a newly formed team of all the towns in Carroll County by select boards. What they're trying to do, very frankly, is figure out what their broadband strategies need to be. There's no obligation, financial obligation on any town to serve, and if there's no objection of the board, I'd gladly like to serve with these people because I think we can learn a lot from each other. So if there's no objection, I'll gladly serve, and at some point I'll come back to you with a recommendation for an alternate. I have had conversations with Verizon, and I've had conversations with T-Mobile. I have not had any planning board related conversations with Verizon. I've shipped them over to Matt, and I do understand that they're sending information, or Verizon has sent information to Matt. I had a conversation with T-Mobile yesterday. They are watching our videos and they're reading our minutes. They are just about finished with their capital plan, a plan of record which includes Wolfeboro. It looks like they're going to start the build plan in 2020. It'll come up Route 11, branch out on Route 28, branch out on 109 and 109A. They haven't told me, and I didn't ask, where the poles are going to get deployed. I figured that would be the pleasure of our town planner. But one thing I think is important is Matt, on behalf as the town planner and the planning board, a few weeks ago, did begin the process of looking at ordinances, and now, our ordinances are opaque. They're not clear as to where we stand on things. And I'm not here advocating for any of them, but I think we probably need to get some very clear, definitive things about where we stand ordinance-wise. And then I'll pick up on Linda's suggestion where we can get together and we can have the puts and takes and ins and outs and what we like and what we don't like, what we think is risk and not risk. But I think ordinance work is really like, I'd move it up if you can, okay? I do have a question about some of the work we've done. Is it against our policy if we shared some of our ordinance work without making recommendations, but shared those with the Carroll County broadband people? Is that okay to do that?
It wouldn't be inappropriate. It is a public document. The only items that would be protected are the protected counsel, but the items provided to the planning board are public documents.
So okay, so that's that's really all I have. I just think that we're seeing some progress. We still have not heard from our dearest friends at AT&T, but I've pinged the chief to keep back channeling. I have had a number of citizens come to me and expressed concern about our cable contract and expressed concerns about just a whole bunch of things. And I am going to various community groups, giving presentations about that, and I'll keep you all posted. That's all I have to report, sir. Thank you.
Brad?
Yeah, last night we had our master plan public hearing, our second hearing for the public hearing on that. We heard a lot of good comments. As Paul spoke about one of them being the lighting of the street lights and the color temperature. And we had a few more specific comments on, more specific items, not necessarily what the master plan is about, but more specific things that could come out of it, which would be, they'd come up separate public hearings anyway if there were any changes made in those. Made a couple small revisions to it, and we set a date of October 22nd to have our adoption of the public meeting of the plan there.
Hopeful adoption.
Hopeful adoption.
Hopeful adoption. Optimistic adoption.
Spread.
But I think overall it's very well received. I think everybody appreciate all the work that went into it, especially with Matt and his staff and stuff. Did a tremendous job on that. So, thank you. This morning we had Wolfeboro Community TV meeting. We finalized our budget. Hopefully that's coming very soon to Amy's office to be put together with the Selectman's budget, right? That needs to go into, so you'll be seeing that very shortly if you haven't got it yet. So, okay. And just announced too, tomorrow night is our annual meeting with the Friends of Living Museum up at the museum at 6:30. The presentation will be, Alba Architects will be speaking about doing a presentation on the proposed renovations and additions to the Living Museum that they've come up with so far. And that's it for me.
All right, I went to, I think it was a total of 3 Conservation Commission meetings recently, reference to the Pleasant Valley Bridge replacement. And that is all now online, awarded to Piper, and that should be starting up very shortly.
Put signs up today.
Yes.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an
David?
excavator there.
On committee meetings, I've been doing some research on town street names, which has been going on for a while.
Linda?
Yeah, I went to the Chamber Quarterly meeting, and that was at PSI Plastics. And I just came tonight and Paul went also to the social at Leone McDonald's and Roberts. I went to 2 cyanobacteria meetings. The assessment meeting is starting to look at how this year went. We're trying to gather some more information. The Special Events Committee, which puts on last night, they have been meeting regularly each month. We have done a fair amount of fundraising. We're still looking at booking some events. We are going to have from 10 to 2 up here in the Great Hall the games, and we'll have Balloon Man up here. The scavenger hunt will go off. We're going to have Gala's Smoothie Bike up here also. The Kingswood Youth Center is going to sell food. That will be a fundraiser for them. We've got contra dancing at night. We're looking to find a new animal show. We've done wildlife encounters last year, so we're trying to do something different. Looking maybe for a storyteller and a magician. I went to the CIP meeting for Paul, and we heard information on the public safety building and Pop Whalen. I went to the EDC meeting. I also went to that master plan meeting. I've gone to both of them, and I thought it was very well done. Matt did a great job. I thought the public was very receptive, and we got some good input, again, about Filter Bed Road and Airbnbs. And I spent today down in Manchester at a municipal budget seminar or workshop, and it was nice to review the Municipal Finance Budget Act. So that's all I have.
Okay, town manager's report. Do you have anything, Matt?
I do. I have a couple items. And just to reference what Paul had been discussing about the ordinance work that the planning board is working on, I just want to give a little bit of context there. The existing personal wireless ordinance was adopted in 2001 by the planning board. I think we can all imagine the change in technology that's taken place over the 18 years since it was adopted, and I think the ordinance reflects that. So primarily what we're doing right now is to bring that ordinance into compliance with existing federal and state law that's been enacted that it's currently not compliant with, in addition to review it in the context of our existing zoning districts, and that's something the planning board will be bringing forth to the voters this year. As far as the town manager's report, a few items. Pleasant Valley Bridge is just one of many construction projects that is beginning right now. We also are starting construction on Dockside in addition to Pine Street. I'm sure you've all heard about that. So those three construction projects may disrupt traffic for a bit or potentially looking at the lake, but please be patient as those get going. Additionally, we've signed an agreement to do a public safety building feasibility study to review a few potential sites, including the existing site for standalone fire, police, and joint facilities. And we expect to begin work on that with LaValle Brenzinger in the coming weeks. Did attend the master plan hearing last night. I would echo Paul's comments, would also add that there were a few residents that did question what the future of the community is in the context of telecommunications and internet connectivity. Certainly some concerned folks that are worried about their access to internet, and that came from a couple different demographics, which I think is important to point out. And I just want to note, sort of to pat the planning board in the back, it was kind of interesting. There was a round of applause at the end of both meetings, which I thought was pretty neat to see. And so I think the planning board's been doing a good job getting that master plan process moving. You'll also note that construction at Abenaki has begun on the Twister Trail expansion, as I addressed a few meetings ago. I do want to point out one modification to the plan that has been made based on conversations with the cross-country ski folks and the Abenaki folks, and that is that the initial plan was not to stump the hill to minimize disruption, but in talking to the contractor directly, the long-term implications of not removing the stumps were actually much more significant and detrimental to the hill and could result in further degradation down the line. So we've chosen to proceed with stumping. And after another site walk that I completed this week, I think we're pretty comfortable with that approach, but you'll see construction happening there. One item that will be coming to the board in October based on the Route 28 project. Obviously, the Route 28 Steering Committee worked on putting the Steering Committee report together over the last 4 to 5 year period that was submitted to NHDOT. DOT is coming back to us to request that we either appoint a new advisory committee to shepherd this process, shepherd this project to the public process, or reappoint our existing steering committee. That's a decision that will be brought to the board in October, how you want to approach that steering committee concept. But you'll receive a formal request from either myself or Dave Ford to actually consider that. Last week, Dave Ford was in Boston to accept an award on behalf of the town of Wolfeboro from EPA. It was an Environmental Merit Award, very exciting for our work on water quality and environmental protection. You'll hear a bit more on that. I think Dave is planning a formal ceremony, if you will, to invite a few key stakeholders in, including NHDES and some other folks that have been instrumental in our environmental work. So I'd look out for an invitation to that event, which I assume will be next week. And lastly, I just want to remind folks that on September 27th, we'll have an afternoon employee appreciation day. That will commence at 12 p.m. and the town hall will be closed for those 4 hours. But I do want to point out that the dump will be open for business as usual in the afternoon to make sure that folks have an opportunity to dispose of what they need to before the weekend. With that, that's all I have.
Okay, any questions from the press? Okay, I'd like a motion to go into, public input. Anybody have any public input?
Amy, you got anything?
Public?
Okay. Make a motion to go into non-public, please.
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go into non-public.
I'm going to steal my pen back between the two of us.
Paul.
Okay.
Because we have